States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And welcome. Under announcements, I'm going to recognize Chris Bennett. So,
Thanks for squeezing me in at the very beginning. Sorry, Officer Olet. I know he was first on the agenda. Reason why I'm here tonight is, as some of you may know, next month is Fire Prevention Month at Waterboro Elementary and the fire station, Waterboro Fire Department. Working with Matt and some of the people over there at the fire department at the beginning of the year, we spoke to them about maybe sponsoring their Fire Prevention Month and helping out with some of the monetary things that they need to do that with the little kids over at the elementary school. So what we've done in conjunction, Bennett Insurance Agency and MetLife, we've sponsored $2,500 in monetary and materials to them. So I'm here to present that check to them for $2,500, and there you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm sure that Matt will put that to good use. Hard to put that in your wallet, though, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Any other announcements from the board? Just one announcement to those of you that might be on the transfer station committee watching. The last night's meeting has been posted to next Monday night at 6:30 p.m. at the town hall. So, just so that you know that. I want to remind everybody that if you are not a recycler, we encourage you to start recycling. We have single stream recycling at the transfer station. Those of you that do recycle, we want to thank you for your efforts. I want to remind everybody this every week. Hope it's working. But moving into the agenda, we have an appointment tonight. We've extended an offer to Sheriff Willett to come in and talk about impact of some of the recent activities at the county level, and at least to share with us kind of how that is impacting his operation. As some of you may know, we have a contract deputy. It certainly has affected us from a personnel perspective, even though we still have a contract deputy. It's just a different one. So I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff Willett, and we will go from there.
Thank you. I was hoping I could get that $2,500 check. I can use it. I guess probably to facilitate this a little bit, I guess probably I might start off by saying that obviously with 7 people that have been laid off, it certainly has an impact on the operation of a police department. Especially when the police department was 22 strong for 585 square miles with about 47,000 people. That's a very small force by national standards. So to lose the 7 people obviously was quite a blow. I guess probably the toughest thing is the way it happened, and for the sake of people that really didn't read the paper or didn't understand what happened, we had been asked by the county, all the department heads, in July to see if we could go back to our budgets and make some adjustments to try and save some money between now and the end of the year because of the possibility, obviously, the lack of funds. We did do that, myself and all the other department heads, and we were told that those adjustments that we made and cuts that we made would take us through the end of the year. It's also my understanding that in impact bargaining with the unions, they were told the same thing. The Tuesday before Black Monday, as I call it, we had a department head meeting, and I asked the question again. I said, I understand we have a deficit for next year, but I said, the cuts that I've made, I said, will those cover us till the end of the year? And the answer was yes. So the cuts that have been made to date are basically in anticipation for next year, not for this year, because we had reached the goal we needed to reach. Unfortunately, the way this happened, none of the department heads were involved in any of the planning. This was a situation where on Monday around 11:30, I received a call that the manager wanted to see me around 1 o'clock in his office. I was under the impression we were going to talk about budgets because we're working on budgets for the year. And I went in and was handed a manila envelope with 8 layoff notices in it, 7 for patrol deputies and 1 for a clerk. And that's the way it happened. I left, was not very happy, but I did what I had to do. The thing that really upset me the most is this was primarily done like we were downsizing a shoe shop. We weren't dealing with professional people, we were downsizing a shoe shop. Because when I had the officers come in and give them the grim news, the first question out of one of the officers being laid off is, who's going to cover, Sheriff? And I said, well, I guess I need to figure that out, because those layoffs were in effect at midnight that night. The contracts, the labor contracts that we have with our unions allowed for a 2-week notice to work the notice off. The officers were willing to do that, but the county opted to pay them and walk them out the door. 2 of the officers that I laid off were my 4 to midnight shift. So after I gave them the good news, these gentlemen were professional enough to say, well, Sheriff, we'll go out on the road and we'll work till midnight because we're getting paid till midnight. And they left my office, only to come back about 10 minutes later to tell me that they'd been locked out of their computers. And I guess I really didn't understand why that had to happen, because they are professional officers. So that's kind of the way things happened over there. Just to reiterate my feeling why we're in this situation is, during the jail consolidation talks, April of 2008, I met with the board of, the chairman of the Board of Commissioners and the county manager, and then the finance director we had, who's no longer there, and the chairman of the budget committee. There were a couple of other people there, and the media. And I told them at that time we had been raising for the last probably 5 years, over $1 million a year in boarding. And that didn't start with me. That started with Sheriff Cody when he was in there. He was the first sheriff that started the boarding, and every year we raised $1 million or over that. And that money was made available to the coffers, and over the course of that time, that's what the county and the budget committee were using to help with the tax levy, and obviously keep the taxes down as much as they could. But at some point in time that runs out, and we were getting to the point that that was going to happen. So at that meeting in April, I suggested to the commissioners that they not spend that money that I had raised. It was about $1.6 million. And I told them it was one-time money, because during the conversations where the jail consolidation was created and the law was created, we knew that at some point in time that the state was going to want to use that money to help balance their budget and to help with the consolidated effort. So we recommended, and when I say we, myself, my chief deputy, and the jail administrator, we suggested to them that they not spend that money, and that they put it in an escrow account, because in '09 they would probably need it. The other thing, and one of the big problems with the jail consolidation, we were making some big money because we were charging $85 a day per inmate, and we were holding quite a few state inmates and as well as inmates from other counties. Once this consolidation took place, the Board of Corrections, which was created by the legislature and has rulemaking authority, changed what the rate is we can charge, and when the law went into effect, we were only allowed to charge $21.16 per person, and it's now gone down to $20.48. So, as you can see, it makes quite a difference in what we take in. I have currently today probably about 80 state inmates in there, and one of the pods that was an empty pod, we leased to the state, but the state correctional officers are the ones manning it, because I didn't want to hire any more correctional officers, because if I did and the state didn't need the space anymore, then the county would be stuck holding on and we'd have to pay unemployment when we laid off. So that has worked relatively well, but we still have a cash flow issue with this whole jail consolidation thing. So I just wanted to give you an idea of how we got here and where we're going. And where we're going is, the week before the layoffs, I had received an email from the troop commander here in Alfred at the state police, who said basically he was having a manpower issue, and that between now and the end of the year, there are certain things in our call sharing agreement that he couldn't provide because of lack of manpower. So on that Monday, obviously, when I received the notices for layoffs, I contacted him. We sat down the next day, and we worked out a couple of agreements to try to keep things afloat as best we could. One of the issues that we've had, and that I've had a concern with, is with the call sharing agreement, we've broken the county into 3 zones. Waterboro is in the B zone. With the contract, when Sean was working, we'd cover the area. If Sean was off and the state police had the B zone, then they would cover it. But if Sean was going to work, say 8 to 4 that particular day, and there was something going on in town that Sean needed to come out at 3 and work till 11 because of an ongoing issue in Waterboro, if I didn't give them notice enough, they wouldn't cover it anyway. So I was still covering it. So what we did when we redid the agreement for the time being is I'm going to cover Waterboro 24/7, 365. It makes it a lot easier. That way, with the contract deputy, if we need to work him a certain hour, we don't have to worry about the rest of the coverage, because I'll pick it up with the zone coverage. When I did find out what transpired, one of the first calls I made was to Nancy to let her know what was going on. Obviously, faced with the reality that Sean was one of the 7 officers that was laid off, I had to honor the contract that I had with the town, and I didn't want to just put somebody in arbitrarily. So I talked with Nancy, and basically what I've done is I've assigned David Chevet to the area, because David's done it before. He knows the people in the area, and I think we'll do an excellent job for you and continue on with the contract that we have. Where do we go from here? Tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with the finance director for the county. When the county laid off people, one of the issues is the county is self-insured. So any layoffs, the unemployment insurance and all other costs related to that falls on the shoulders of the county because of the self-insured situation. When someone over there did the paperwork and did the math, they came up with the fact that they needed 7 deputies, 5 out of the DA's office. I think it was 6 or 7 out of the deeds. And a lot of those, if you lay off one person, you need to lay off part of another person to cover the cost and everything else. Apparently they figured it on 48 weeks of unemployment, but obviously when the government extended that, there's some grant money that's available to towns and governments. So now all we need is 13 weeks to cover that. So those are the numbers that they're reworking for me right now. The other thing that has transpired is some of my deputies that I laid off have already been picked up by other agencies, and therefore there will not be any cost for that. I feel very good that they were able to do that because they're all great workers and great professional officers, but I also feel very sad that the county's lost a good bunch of people that were dedicated out there, but that's the hand that I was dealt. Also, I found out today through a news release from Shelley Pingree's office, I had applied for a grant for a crimes against person investigator, and we were awarded that grant today. That's going to be money enough for 2 years for a detective. What that'll allow me to do, if the county allows me to hire him, that will allow me to bring somebody in from within the ranks into the detective slot and then use that money to bring somebody back. So I'm hoping that between the grant and redoing some numbers, I'll be able to bring some people back. I'd love to bring all 7 back, and I'd like to be able to tell you tonight I can, but I don't think that's going to happen. But as many as I can get back, we're going to try to get them back as soon as we can. So that's, I guess that's the whole story in a nutshell. After I got the letter from the town, I think the day before I got the letter, I sent a letter to you because I wanted to meet with all the towns to let you know what was going on from an operational side. It's my understanding that the county patrol officers have been meeting with boards of selectmen to talk about what they did and what they were willing to do and so on and so forth, and obviously that's their right, and I encourage them to do that. But I thought, as the sheriff, I should appear before all the boards and talk to you about operationally where we are right now, and that's why I'm here tonight. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
One of the questions I have for you, Sheriff, is who is in charge of the number crunching over there? Do you know? Because
I would assume it was the county manager.
okay, I've been told that the clerk that was employed in your office was partially funded by fees from the deputies that serve civil process, and that a small portion of the remainder of that was out of your budget. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
And further, that by removing that particular individual from employment, it's actually going to cost the county more money than they saved in unemployment benefits because of that? Is that a true statement?
Well, I can tell you that one of the fixes that I did in July, the clerk that you're referring to is the clerk that sits at the window, that answers the phone, does other clerical stuff, but probably 75% of her time is spent people coming to the window with civil process papers to be served. We charge a fee to do that. By statute, we're allowed to do that, and we can recoup for the county all reasonable costs. One of the things that I noticed was that the amount of work she was doing for the civil process, we have so many papers coming in today, I mean hundreds, literally hundreds a week. She was spending a lot of time doing that, and obviously it does bring in a sizable amount of money. So what I did to save some money in my operational budget, I transferred 3/4 of her salary and benefits to the civil process fund, which is self-funded by people that come to the window. And then 25% of it was the regular fund because she does do some other things in the office. So whatever the difference is, and I'm not positive, but it was probably around $9,100 or $9,200. Salary and benefits is what the difference was. That was what was coming out of my budget. She's been laid off. I don't know exactly, I can't remember what her exact salary is, but whatever it is, she's going to get unemployment on her full salary. So the money that they saved by laying her off certainly is not going to, they're not going to make that up by what they're paying her. They're going to be paying her more money through unemployment.
Tammy?
So on the other hand, but you still have the income coming into that fund, right?
I still do. What,
So have you got to reproportion that to someone
that's
else?
one of the things that we're going to talk about tomorrow. The other thing, obviously, losing a clerk, and with the amount of work that she did, I'm now forced to close that window a couple of times during the week, and people can't come in and do their business because I don't have anybody. Monday mornings, when the two clerks used to come in, they had the weekend mail, they had all the papers, all the arrests from the weekend, all the paperwork that had to go to the DA so that we could do video arraignment in the afternoon, so we could get everything to the DA's office. There's just not enough time. There's only one person now to do that. So we have shut down on Mondays and Thursdays.
No one in the DA office to accept the stuff either.
Pardon?
There's probably not many people in the DA's office
The
to
DA
accept it.
has his own issues also. He met with us, with the District 1 chiefs, the other day, and we talked about what's going on over there also. And that in itself affects all 29 towns, not just the 14 towns, so.
Tammy?
Sheriff, some of the things that I'm hearing from folks around town is that they don't see where this is going to impact the level of service that the town is seeing from law enforcement because it's going to be supplemented by the state police. We've always been very fortunate to get a very timely service in this community. Yes, and you're talking about now there's going to be 24/7 coverage from the Sheriff's Department, but is the level of service going to be the same going forward as it was, say, a month ago?
No, it's not possible to do because I'm not going to talk this evening about what my schedules are because we don't talk about schedules, but the state police have their own issues, financial issues. The state obviously doesn't have any money. We've put a Band-Aid on this situation. I could not tell you tonight that the response time's going to be the same as it was because we don't have the same amount of people on than we did on September 14th because I have 7 people left. He has 4 or 5 people out right now, so he can't provide the same thing. He had come to me the week before. So we got together to do the best we can, and I mean, emergency calls obviously are going to be responded to as quick as we can, but the other calls and the other services and the proactive law enforcement that this community is known to have is going to suffer because of the manpower issue. The other thing that really suffers, and a lot of people probably don't realize it, but a couple of weeks ago on the front page of the Press Herald, there was a picture of an individual out of Leamington that was arrested and convicted in federal court of transporting over a ton of marijuana into York County. That case we had been working on for 2 years with the feds, with the FBI and DEA and everything else, as was the motorcycle case, the 29 motorcyclists that we worked with DEA on, that were transporting and smuggling cocaine and crack cocaine into this county. That's manpower intensive, and I have just barely enough people to cover shifts. So that type of enforcement, we're going to be picking and choosing very carefully because we don't have the people to send. What was good about those cases, the Operation Trojan Horse, the Iron Horseman case, we had 9 people assigned to that, and the federal government paid all the overtime and benefits for that, so it didn't cost the county a nickel. And forfeitures, we got a lot of forfeitures out of that. Now if they came to me tomorrow and said, we'd like you to get involved in this big case, I still have to worry about these people getting sleep and enough rest and everything else, and to push them that hard, we just don't have the manpower to do it. And those are some of the things that people are going to see that we're not going to be able to provide. And granted, the state police barracks is right down the street, but they have their own issues too. And, you know, we're going to take care of the emergency calls, but the rest of them we're going to stack, and we'll answer them as we have time to answer them, so.
Anything else?
Is there, I know that when you talk about schedules and staffing, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, you don't want to mislead the public into thinking that they have this false sense of security, and on the other hand, you don't want to let the criminals know that, you know, when you're going to be out there and when you're not. But is there ever a time where there is actually going to be someone on duty 24 hours a day, or will there be periods of time throughout that period where there won't be anybody?
Would you prefer not to answer?
You answer. Thank you, Sheriff.
Can I plead the Fifth Amendment?
We could spend the evening here, I think, shooting questions at you, but I think more importantly, the invitation was for you to let us know what was going on. I think you did certainly an excellent job kind of laying that out in the foundation for that. We, I'm sure, will be more involved in county activities than we have been in the past, but other than just getting a bill for $350,000 a year and sending them a check. But so I think some of the things that have happened, not only with the rural patrol, but certainly other things that have happened in the county has been, you know, I think it was a wake-up call a few years ago when we had the problem, and unfortunately I think everybody felt that had been resolved, but I'm not sure that has. So.
Yeah, this just didn't happen over the last 6 months. This has been an ongoing situation. The other issue that you know, I remind the board that the whole issue of county patrol has been around for years and years, and you know, there are 14 towns right now that are very concerned about 7 people being laid off and who's going to cover their calls and everything else. But there are probably 15 towns out there that have their own police departments that really don't have a concern or might think it's great. I don't know. I hope not. But that issue has been around, and you know, maybe it's time for the legislature to really take a hard look at how all of this, you know, is done, and hopefully, you know, resolve this once and for all.
I think you're right. I think it's a bigger issue than just
Big picture.
local anymore. So.
And I did invite Commissioner Cabral to attend this evening, and he declined. He had another commitment, but he said that he would try to get forward another date that he could potentially come in and speak to the board.
So, thank you for coming in, and as always, you know, welcome anytime.
Thank you.
We will miss the how do I want to say that, energetic reports that Sean used to give us. But
Well, I don't think that's going to go on forever.
yeah, but I think some of those can only be delivered by Sean.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Touch of humor.
If I could reach in and bring Sean back, I would in a heartbeat. Unfortunately, I have a labor contract that dictates what I have to do. But I'm a very optimistic person, and I'm not going to take this lying down. I'm going to work as hard as I can to get back as many people as I can, because we really need them.
Is
It's a good
Dave just
message.
going to be a temporary
For the
contract?
time being. Yep.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Moving along, hearing a delegation. Bridget, you wanted a few minutes?
Bridget McCallum, trustees of the library. I came a couple of times to ask about the roof being inspected so we know when it was done, and I thought I'd give a little bigger picture tonight. The matter of whether the roof is finished is, the importance of it to us is that we have other work that was part of what was written up by Robert Furman, and we don't, until we know the roof is really done and up to specs, we can't allocate the rest of our capital improvement money to start cleaning out the asbestos in the walls, because now that we're assured of the fact that, well, we hopefully are assured of the fact that the roof won't be leaking, the health of patrons and staff is the next concern with all the contaminated insulation that's inside the walls. So we, as we start thinking about next year's capital improvement plan, are looking at, we think we have around $2,000 left, roughly, and we would like to use that to get started with cleaning out the asbestos. So my hope is that we can get that inspection done so that we can then move ahead with the other work.
Well, I know that the request has gone out to Mr. Furman to come in and do the inspection, which he said he would do and not charge us, basically.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the urgency of that is from his perspective, but we can certainly see if we can follow up with a call to him to see if we can put it to bed.
And why can't you go forward with, before he inspects the roof?
Well, we don't know whether the job is really done.
He's
And-
been paid.
But
DJ
but
Walls
the
has
other,
been-
the other project is separate from that, right? The asbestos removal?
This was not in our capital improvement plan for this year. We had painting the exterior as our task. The roof became the emergency case, which it's been for years, but we finally came to know we could not do the roof.
But I think...
Okay, but that, I guess what I'm saying is, that is done, we think.
Well, I think,
But you have
from
another
our
$2,000.
perspective, I think if you look at it big picture, it's done, it's been paid for. If there are issues with it, that is on the contractor that has a guarantee with us,
And
okay?
there is a warranty on
Right,
the
so
work.
there's no...
So why
no
hold up on
further-
other?
Right,
Well, that's helpful information. I didn't have that.
so
So we can go ahead, find out from Nancy what the balance is, and then put out the jobs to bid.
I would say that would be the
Excellent.
next logical step,
Okay,
so...
that's all I needed to know. Good,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. You don't get a go. Go.
I
You were
didn't
here
ask-
last week.
Well,
You
2
already,
weeks
we already
ago.
were done, we ran out your number. Yeah,
I didn't know I was on a clicker
we
or
have
something.
you on a clock.
I'll disappear
Like
after
an
this one,
attorney's
because
office, we hit the...
the saga of Eaton Peabody has come to a conclusion, fortunately. The last time I was here, we've been talking all summer about working with Patsy Wiggins and Eaton Peabody and doing all kinds of negotiations on that. About 10 days ago, we got word that Patsy Wiggins had left Eaton Peabody and has taken a job as a campaign manager for somebody who wants to run for governor. So that put us in a little bit of a turmoil. We began to talk with a Mr. Matthew Eddy, who's the executive director of Eaton Peabody. And the friends met with him last night and have agreed to sign a contract, the letter of agreement with Eaton Peabody to pursue the funding of this library. A very interesting man. He's spent his entire life in the public sector until about a year ago when he signed on with Eaton Peabody. He's a town planner, economic developer, has done a lot of big municipal kind of projects. But what attracted us too is he's done a lot of very, very local projects, creating nonprofits to raise the money to build a teen center, to build a consortium for kids, I think they did a homeless shelter. There's a whole slew of these less than, mammoth kinds of projects. I have a sense that this man knows federal funding, state funding, foundation funding, and I think it's as good a shot as we have to finding out, A, if there's any money out there and how we go about doing it. So hopefully, I think Monday night, we'll begin doing our own strategic planning and figuring out where all this is going to go, and et cetera, et cetera. So I won't have to bother you again until town council.
All right, thanks, Jack. Anyone else? Town Administrator Nancy is not with us this evening. Any selectmen's reports? Committee reports? All right, we're moving now. New business, discuss resolutions for November. I think Nancy some time ago sent us
Yes.
a couple of resolutions that different municipalities were considering. that the board, certain boards were adopting to either, I guess, for or against, let's put it that way, for Tabor 2 and the excise tax referendum. So we just wanted to put this, at least start the dialogue of whether the board is interested in entertaining one of these, or both, and we would go from there. So,
But I'd start out and move to accept the resolution, an act to decrease the automobile excise tax and promote energy efficiency, and that is a resolution that states 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whereases that states the reasons for not supporting that act. In other words, we don't want our excise tax cut in half. So I would, my motion is to accept that resolution.
I would second that.
any discussion? What this does, and just so everybody knows, is that it's enacted, this is a resolution by the Selectmen of the Town of Waterboro in opposition to the initiated Bill LD 974. The act is to decrease automobile excise tax and promote energy efficiency. I know that you're going to hear all of the ads and look at all of the, it'll be on TV and in the papers. Just real quick, and I don't want to belabor this, but our excise revenue last year in 2008 was $1,090,000. If this act was enacted by referendum, that number would be decreased by $436,000. That's 4% of our entire budget in the town of Waterboro. Excise tax represents 10% of our entire budget, revenue stream. So there are a whole number of different issues. You know, this resolution will also contain a fact sheet of that we put almost $700,000 of that revenue into roads, so that's about 63% of everything that comes in. Excise tax goes directly to maintenance of roads within this community. So that is the impact on the town of Waterboro, so I think you probably can see why this board is in opposition to this, or with a vote will be in opposition to this bill. Any,
I just wonder, this is the first that I've heard about this, so what is the power of this other than, it's a statement, it's a public statement from a municipality
just
about the vote?
that this board has taken a position and adopted a resolution against this. I
And
mean,
when does that get advertised or publicized?
it ultimately is other than there's two papers sitting here tonight, but there's, it will be published here in the town office, that we have in essence, you know, voted on a resolution in opposition to this referendum vote. We are not.
Is MMA involved, or is this a...
MMA certainly has helped craft some of these resolutions and the wording, but I mean, the impact on the local municipality is, in fact, effective to the local municipality.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Jack?
I don't know if you can do anything with it or not, but when I was down in Buxton doing fuel assistance, there was an article that they had lying around from a magazine called Dollars and Cents, and it was an excellent two-sided article about all the difficulties with the excise tax.
We have a number of items that we'll, you know, make available for people to read and hopefully make an educated decision of how they'll vote. I mean, the bottom line is if there's 450 $460,000 coming out of our revenue stream, it's very obvious that there's only one of two things that can happen. We cut 4.6% or 5% out of the budget again, or that becomes added to your tax base, okay? And now everyone in the municipality is affected by, every taxpayer is affected by that increase. So if I decide to buy a $45,000 vehicle and someone else decides to buy a $20,000 vehicle, we will, in essence, pay, other than the rate that will be the new rate, we will be the taxpayer will subsidize the rest of that, if you will. You can look at it that. The energy efficiency thing, if you buy a Prius or a hybrid, there is no excise tax. So
No sales tax.
And no sales tax. So you can go out and buy a Prius, or I can go out and buy the Cadillac Escalade hybrid. Neither one of us will pay excise tax or sales tax on that vehicle.
That Escalade goes for about $70,000.
Just
So
so
you get a tax-free $70,000 car.
That's for 3 years.
Right.
And the only vehicles that see a benefit, the only folks that see a benefit to the reduced excise tax on their vehicle are vehicles that are 5 years or newer. The 64% of Mainers drive vehicles that are more than 6 years old. So only 40% of the population is going to see a benefit from this excise tax law if it passes, but all of us are going to feel the detrimental effects of it.
It's really helpful information.
So we will make available some of that information that'll be in the lobby here and whatnot. It's a fine line of what the board can do from a campaign perspective or those kind of things. So what we can do is adopt a resolution.
Would it be possible to do a spot or two for the public cable access?
Someone could do that. Yeah.
But you folks can't as elected officials.
That's a hairy line.
I was going to say, you have to be very careful, because Jack called me the day he found that thing over in Buxton, and I spoke to Nancy about it, because I was going to try and get copies to have out here, and Nancy said, no.
Okay.
Because we're voting here, we have to be very careful
Yeah.
about what is out there.
I think once the voting commences, right, which it has now, right?
Absentee voting?
The debate is replaying that
Okay. The debate or the information,
discussion.
right, in
The ones that-
2 weeks ago
Presentation.
Monday, there was part of the 12-town group, there were folks here from MMA that presented to the audience, predominantly made up from municipal offices, and we did tape that, and that is playing on the network. So. Any other discussions, questions? All those in favor? Opposed? We may want to look at the Tabor 2 side of this another evening, so we'll bring that discussion up. Next on the agenda is discuss about sign abatements. Jerry has in front of us, I think, 5 requests. What is your pleasure with those?
I'll
Wait.
move to accept Jerry's request.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Sure we signed the book. Vote to sign the administrator's contract.
I will move that we sign the administrator's contract for the upcoming year.
I'll
I
second
think
that.
the year that we're already in.
Yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor? Make sure that we sign that. Discuss vote on decision-making goal, probably really old business, but Tammy Jo and John have come up with a very comprehensive decision and meeting efficiency plan as part of the efforts of the board trying to move quicker off of the dime, so to speak, when it comes to decision-making. has everybody had a chance to review and digest? Where do you want to go with this? I mean, I mean, I like the part of, let's move to a little more comprehensive agenda, more of a kind of a town council effect, but I think it does give us some meaning and at least preliminary stuff. I know we get the package, but it does,
I think
allow.
there's two things, I think, Dennis, that happens here. If we agree to this, then there's pieces in it that will need a separate,
Right. Yeah, we'll have
in
to-
order to change the agenda, would need to,
Change
but
the
what it
bylaws,
says is that you agree with this, and
Yeah.
then we'll go forward with the
I-
pieces in it.
I would agree.
It was, John and I, it was a quite productive afternoon. We both went in with notes on what we both saw as strengths and weaknesses, and it was interesting to sit there and realize that our notes almost mirrored each other's. And so it was fairly simple to say, okay, this is a direction that we both thought that we needed to go in. But it does certainly put a little bit more work that needs to be done up front. But the end result of that is it's going to allow us to be more efficient, and then we can start looking at some board-initiated things, like if we want to start talking about impact fees or other situations around town that we want to brainstorm on, it gives us some time to actually get into that and start doing some board-directed activities.
And what it does too is that when an issue comes up comes up for discussion, sometimes it seems to linger, and it can linger for several reasons. One is that we don't agree it's an issue, and no one ever said it, and so we need to kind of say, no, we're not going to deal with that and put it away, or someone else ought to deal with it and we refer it. Or, in some cases, we put it aside and put it aside. This way, it would be on the agenda, and it would be looking us in the face every Tuesday night, each one of these issues, and it would kind of force us to deal with it and not put it off.
And then to make sure that our workshops are productive, we're proposing that every fourth Tuesday be just a workshop. So
Yeah.
those things that come up during the course of the month where we need to have a workshop, that's what our fourth
Yep.
Tuesdays are for, just those workshops. But also with those workshops, we need to either have minutes taken of them, or we need to record them so that there's a permanent record of them, so in the future, we can go back to that. Because right now, we come out of our workshops with nothing more than what we remember, and 2 or 3 weeks from now, let's talk about it again, and my recollection is going to be different than John's, which is going to be different than Dennis's, which is going to be different than Gordon's.
Yeah, so we rehash it and go through.
Yeah, and it just makes things more decisive.
That's not what we said, though.
I don't remember it that way.
So I think if we, and I'm going to make a motion to accept this. And what it does is it doesn't necessarily accept every piece of it, because some of these things will require separate motions, and we'll take them up in the weeks ahead. But my motion is to accept this decision and meeting efficiency plan.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, we'll have to spike out those things that we know will have to be changed, like selectmen's bylaws and those things. Next item is not as comprehensive as the previous plan, but one of the things that we started batting around last week was one of the objectives that the town board has is that we do have some boards that have ceased because of either lack of interest, or lack of participation, or a lack of direction. There's also certain committees that still want for additional members. And one of the proposals on the table was to ultimately kind of do away with council meeting, but on our weekly agenda where committee reports are, that every week we have a committee report. And so this is just kind of a straw man that we put together to talk about the process. Weekly, one committee would meet, gives a report, kind of revolving every 6 or 8 or 10 weeks. They come back. Content is, ultimately with their mission and activities and those kind of things. So just to put a little bit of meat on that bone, I think, kind of have put something as talking points, is kind of went through this, and I said, well, why aren't we doing this with the department heads as well? So maybe on a monthly basis, we bring in a department head, and the department head talks about those same kind of things. It gives us some time on, at the public meeting, if there is a need, or we have need to stimulate interest, then that's a great opportunity for us to do that. So this is kind of a work in process, but so I'm not sure that I would offer that we are ready to go vote on anything here, other than to continue to work it a bit.
I think the outline is there and sets the direction. I'm going to look at plea from members as required.
Yeah.
And that's a plea to fill our committees with volunteers. That has been an issue that we've come up with some ideas on, but that is something that probably needs some fairly detailed pieces to how we go about getting volunteers and filling up our committees. So I think I see this as a great outline with some need for
Yep.
some specifics.
I think one of the things that we kind of was talking about just when we were talking and not really going any particular direction, and we were just kind of brainstorming a little bit, was doing the commercials for each committee and having a member from each committee come in and do a little blurb about this is what our committee is, this is what we do, this is the members, and play that on
So it's,
TV.
yeah, we'd create a PSA for
Kind of
each.
like what you did with the transfer station, but do it for each committee. And maybe by putting out a more comprehensive description of what each committee does, it might pique the interest of somebody.
And that, of course, what you brought up too, is every 8-week turnaround for the committees that come in. They have a chance to inform the public. It's not just a report to us, it's a report to the public. This is what this committee does. And there's some times when it gets very, very interesting in these committees.
Yeah, and I think the key is that it has to be somewhat structured.
Yep.
We can't, ultimately, a report out may, somebody might want to take 20 minutes or half, 3/4 of an hour when, 10 minutes may have sufficed. And then beyond that, I think then we can make arrangements to go into more depth. But this needs some work, so.
Another little comment, I can see where your son gets his design.
Well, that's just simply
Pretty
executing a PowerPoint.
Pretty good.
Yep. Training aspect is really one of the things that we wanted to go into as we adopt this, is to get all of the committee members together and spend, the other piece that we have not touched on in a long time with committees is what the right to know law means, what committees are obligated to do, because it is a public committee. The right to know law comes into effect, that the committee members have to, the other thing that kind of gets stimulated here is that kind of, we'll call it a code of ethics for committee members, right? I mean, there are some things that, if you volunteer to be part of municipal government, ultimately, there are some strings that come attached with that, okay? What you can and can't say in public, without, without committing the town to something and those kind of things. So we had talked about bringing in our legal advisors or MMA or whatnot and doing a work session where, I mean, the planning board kind of gets that, should be on an annual basis, I'm not sure when the last time that we've done that. That's a little bit of a different, more comprehensive look at the legalese of being a planning board member versus being, on the cemetery committee. Not that they still don't have obligations to the town, but I think we will drive more of that into, what really is it to be a committee member?
And like with the cemetery committee, there are actually some state mandates that they have to follow. So if you have a turnover, does everybody know what those state laws are that they have to abide by?
So that's the training aspect of it. We're just really, all of this, we're just scratching the surface of a couple of goals and objectives here, and I think the most important one, which is let's get off the dime and make decisions. We've at least, we've actually moved forward on that one, so.
We should have
That's a
that
good
wrapped up
sign,
next
right.
week.
Okay. Anything else on that? We'll work that and bring it back as next week under old business. Under old business, as we discussed last week, the state, let me go back. I jumped one. We had a site plan review ordinance request change here some time ago. I think that we've had at least one joint public workshop with regard to it. We handed this off to the planning board. My sense of it is the planning board is now done with this.
Yep, and they sent it back to us to
It is
go
now
to.
back to us, so we need to
It's had legal
establish,
review.
pardon?
It's had
And legal review.
And you
So-
have the recommendations from the attorney there.
Okay.
She did recommend.
And they've been put into the.
They have not been put
They
in.
have not.
You need to decide if you want to make those changes.
Okay. Well, ultimately, we're gonna have to have a public hearing, right? So the question is that, and has the planning board seen the attorney's response?
No, no. Nancy said that at this point, they're done with it, it's in your
Okay.
hands, you need to do what the lawyer recommends.
I love it when we get an opinion from the attorney and the attorney has questions. What is this? What is your, I guess, what do we want to go here?
I make a motion that we set this for a public hearing.
And pick a date?
2 weeks out.
Three, please. We have time to post it.
13th is
Council meeting.
council meeting, which will probably be a launch date for what we're going to do there. So I would say, I mean, there's nothing, there's really no emergency pending, gee, we got to go do this, but, so if we're at the 20th,
What do we have going on the 13th? Oh, that's 2
other than
weeks.
council meeting. So we would do it then, and I would suggest that we get our business done and run the public hearing at 7 o'clock, right? I mean, we might have to come back on the agenda to take some action on it, but that gives us time to determine whether or not, you gotta post this when? If it's the 20th, you gotta be
10 days.
10 days out, so then we make a decision on whether or not, and I'd like to maybe offer up that we get the town planner and anyone else from Patty or anybody else relative to what their take is on Natalie's recommendations.
And I do have to post the actual ordinance with the posting, so.
Right. So we have a week and a half, basically, or maybe the two selectmen's meetings to resolve
Yeah,
whether or not
well,
we're going to...
the law states it has to be posted 7 days ahead. I'm dealing with a couple of part-time newspapers, so I have to go by their deadlines too, so that's a little time sometimes.
Is that 7 calendar days or 7 work days? 7 calendar days.
Sorry, David. Didn't mean to make all that noise.
All right, give everybody away.
Sorry, people.
So I would say the absolute drop dead for us to either incorporate these changes or not is the 6th, right? So let's put that on for the 6th. Put it on for next week as far as I'm concerned, and then we'll,
Nick?
if we have to, roll it a week because of questions, and we can roll it, but bring it back next week, and we ought to be able to, well, although...
Next week is the 6th.
Is the 6th. Okay, well, it's as simple as us saying yay and nay, right?
Yep.
So, okay?
Will you get more than one reading on this?
Nope.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, the school, I think, has to have, like, multiple readings of changes, but... All right, item 2, discuss vote on sex offender ordinance. We discussed this somewhat at length last week. The state of Maine has imposed certain, or they have adopted a law that restricts what we can have in our sex offender ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, can I back up for a second?
Yeah.
I had the motion on the floor to set that for public hearing,
Okay,
and then we never voted on it, so I don't,
all right,
procedurally, are we okay?
I think we are. I mean, certainly we can,
Can we do that on the 20th too? That's a pretty straightforward piece. I mean, we just,
hang on, we don't need a vote of the board to set the night, so,
Tell me the date.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'll withdraw
Yep.
the motion, that's a problem.
the sex offender ordinance goes, and again, we talked about this the other night, about the state has voted on that you cannot have any more of a restriction than 750 feet. So our ordinance becomes somewhat diluted, is probably the right word. It also does not allow you to restrict where a sex offender may live with regards to a daycare center. So the only provisions are a school, either public or private, elementary, middle, or secondary school, and within 750 feet of that establishment. Also changes that the sex offender has to be convicted of a Class A, B, or C sex offense committed against persons who have not attained 14 years of age. So that is part of the state law. So we have incorporated those changes, in principle anyway, to our sex offender ordinance, which needs to go through a public hearing. So what is your pleasure on that date? You want to do them both the same?
yeah, I really
Yep.
think this one is not going to, it's not going to be a lot of discussion, my guess is we've been through that, people have been in favor of it, and is
So
it's pretty
October
straightforward.
20th?
Good for me.
Anything else you want to bring up on this subject? If not, we'll move on. Last week, we reviewed the cooperative agreement for Central York County Connection Study, which is the 202, 111 corridor and all that good stuff that's being worked at York County. We now have to vote to, we kind of approved the draft of this. This is the final version that we need to vote on.
So moved.
Moved by John,
Second.
second by Tammy Jo, to sign a cooperative agreement for Central York County Connection Study. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Other, vote to sign warrants and bills for payroll.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Vote to sign minutes of 9:22.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Discussion of agenda items for next week.
I would want to put on, discuss and vote on revision of Selectmen's agenda.
Okay?
Does that need to be the bylaws?
That would be the
Yeah,
bylaws.
the bylaws.
So, let's bring up the discuss vote on changes to the bylaws, right?
Yep.
That kind of leaves it open if we want to do something more than just the agenda piece of it.
Next week is the WAB meeting,
Yep.
and we wanted to keep our agenda down to just
Yes.
bills
Yep,
and
yep.
payroll so that we could attend that, and we were going to start at 5:30 and just hopefully come in, sign stuff, and leave.
Yep,
So that,
Next week?
yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not here.
So hopefully,
so the meeting will start at 5:30 next week. It will be a very, very limited agenda.
Probably won't be videotaped from the sounds of it.
I don't, yeah,
so can we put the bylaws off until the following week?
Sure.
yep. Following week is
Yep.
council meeting, but that's fine.
That's usually wrapped up by 7:15.
Yep. Anything else for next week?
Dennis, I have something, can I ask quick?
Sure.
I sent Nancy today my work plan for emergency management due to the fact I want to get funding back. The funding that I get back, do we have to discuss, does it go to the general fund or does it go back to EMA? I don't know how that works with.
Right now, I think, in just brief discussion, it all goes back to the general fund.
Okay, that's what I thought, so I didn't know we
We-
needed to do anything.
We could, if we want it to go to EMA, then we would have to make that, either take a vote on that or at town meeting, we would do that. But I don't believe that we have to do that.
Okay.
The board could we could vote to move that money out of the general fund into your account if there's a need for it, right? So-
And I'm going to be doing it quarterly, so like tomorrow is the end of a quarter for me, so I'll put in for my first, and it might be $300, but it would go just go back to the town and come back to the town of
Is
Waterboro.
that just for the gas for the Hummer or?
I don't bill you guys mileage, I'm lucky. Next year.
Aren't we supposed to still get together with you to go over our emergency plan?
November 12th, I think, is the date it was
Okay.
scheduled.
Okay.
And I assume at 6 PM. Nancy didn't give me a time. But I told her I know you guys were busy in October, so November 12th is the date I was given. I assume you
I don't know
guys
if
made
it's
it.
that set up or not.
Hang on. That is a Thursday evening. I think that's, we are set. So. All right. Item C, the signature warrants and bills for payroll, the minutes of 9/22, the abatements, some concealed weapon permits in there, administrator's contract, cooperative agreement for CYCCS. Reminders, WAB Business Development meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30 at the Town Hall. EDC Thursday afternoon at 4 p.m. in this room. 7 p.m. Thursday evening, Historical Society at the Belleville House. Friday all day, 9 to 5 here in the Town Hall. York County Community Action Fuel Assistance, you need an appointment. There is a blood drive at the Town Hall that will be run.
Actually, that's been moved to the middle school.
It is now at the middle school, a blood drive at the middle school, 11 to 5 on Friday, the 2nd. Selectmen's meeting next Tuesday evening at 5:30 p.m. Very limited agenda. I think that's it. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?